at Keeneland for the first of 17 race days here for the October meeting, the fall meeting at Keeneland Racecourse. It is Fall Stars weekend. Scott Hazelton, Gabby Gaudette alongside with you here over the course of the entire run through this meet, which will take us, Gabby, straight into the Breeders' Cup World Championships as they return here for a second time to Keeneland Racecourse. And how about this, Gabby? 9 Breeders' Cup winner-in races this weekend alone, Friday through Sunday.
Yeah, it's a very, very important weekend as some of those connections make their final preparations for the Breeders' Cup here in Lexington, Kentucky. Looking forward to it, Scott. And it is a beautiful day. Looks like we're going to have beautiful weather on tap throughout the weekend for Fall Stars weekend. Of course, today is headlined by the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades.
And we're going to continue to help you Keeneland at home, as we'd love to have you back here. We hope that at some point next year we'll be discussing that, but we're going to do our best to bring you the sights and sounds of the great racing that we have in store for you here at Keeneland for this fall meet. And if it's anything like what we saw just back in July, just really a few weeks back, Gabby, each and every day we were seeing multiple breakout performances and big performances. How many track records did we see fall back in July?
A lot. I don't know off the top of my head how many track records we saw, but we saw some sparkling performances, that's for sure. And the track was fast. I mean, it was July, it was warm, there wasn't a lot of rain. I don't predict we're going to see those types of fast fractions today because it's a different season, Scott, but it is fast and firm today, and fast and good, excuse me. Turf is listed as good. So I still think we're going to see some amazing performances. Even the Phoenix today, Scott, that drew a big field despite even having some scratches. And
some familiar faces there in that Stoll Keenan Ogden Phoenix with Whitmore. Won this race back in 2017. He was second just last year. So some familiar faces looking to punch their ticket to the Breeders' Cup Sprint come early November right here at Keeneland Racecourse. So looking forward to a big fall meet. We look forward to this weekend especially. There will be another winning you're in race next week as well, as we'll kick off week number 2 of this fall meeting. But it's brisk, as you would expect here in Lexington, Kentucky this time of the year. But let's get to the official word on the weather from our friends at WKYT.
Good morning, Keeneland fans. Meteorologist Adam Bernstein here. We are looking at great conditions for the fall meet. Starting out the opener, we're looking at 70s and even mid to upper 70s on Saturday. A little bit of rain chances coming in on Sunday. It's going to be a good amount of rain coming in through the afternoon, evening hours, but it's much needed after all of our dry conditions. So make sure to enjoy that opening weekend. Have a good one.
And there is no doubt that we will, and we know that you will be enjoying it at home as we take a look at our full card picks for this day, for opening day here at Keeneland, as it is opening day for the full card picks, which we'll get to here in just a few moments once they're teed up, as they'll be presented by our good friends and colleagues on TVG, which you'll have entire meet coverage of each and every race over on TVG. And I'd say that this is pretty aligned for our sake. Normally we're complete opposites, but we have the same opinion in the first race, and then a couple of opinions mixed together, but then back on the top selection in race number 4.
For sure. It looks like race 1, we agree on the top selection, race number 4 as well, and number 5. So there are some races in which we overlap, but one race in particular, the Stoll Keenan Ogden Phoenix, I'm excited to get into that race and dive into it, Scott, because there's so many different ways to go, and that's kind of the theme so far on today's card.
We will get to that second up, but we're going to start with the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades Stakes. Once we visit social media, something I always tend to skip over, Gabby Gaudette, for whatever reason, we've got Twitter, we've got Instagram, or Insta, as the kids call it, your generation, Facebook representation as well. Once we get that graphic teed up for you, there it is, at Keeneland Racing on Twitter, at Keeneland on Facebook, Instagram at Keeneland, and then TVG2. Also give them a follow there. Don't forget, you can watch these today at Keeneland on the TVG app, and something that we had great success with over the course of the Keeneland September sales run, Gabby, because during that sales run we had many of the hips with walking videos on the Watch TVG app. So there's a lot of on-demand content. And once you download Watch TVG app on Amazon, Fire TV, Apple TV, or Roku. All right, now time for the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades. It's race number 9, 5:40 Eastern Time, 2:40 Pacific. Crazy Beautiful installed as the 5-2 morning line favorite.
And Crazy, I respect that. I think she is the deserved favorite, as she recently finished second in the Grade 3 Pocahontas at Churchill Downs to the likes of Girl Daddy, who is trained by Dale Romans, and she really looks like a talented runner. But Scott, I think there's the potential of other fillies in here to improve. So although I respect the favorite, I went in a different direction. I believe you did too.
I did. I go with the number 2 horse for Larry Best OXO Equine. That's Travel Column, the filly by Frosted, trained by Brad Cox. Brad goes to Florent Giroux for a second time with his filly, as she's only run once. And we take you back to her debut race at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Derby weekend, so just under a month ago, where she wasn't even favored. She was closer to 5-1 than anything, and she was part of the pace early. But watch her draw off here. 6 furlongs in 110 flat. As I mentioned, she's by Frosted out of a Belmont Stakes winner in Victory Gallop. So that is distance on distance. Frosted, he was runner-up in the Belmont Stakes behind American Pharoah during his racing career, and his best performance came going a mile in the Met Mile when he demolished that field a few years back. So this filly has every right to improve as the distances get further. And look at her workouts over at Churchill Downs. Fast ones, 49-2, 48-4, and most recently 59-4. I think she's the one to beat. I think we'll see another top performance from her, because that was a sizzling debut that we saw from Travel Column. I'll go my second choice with Thoughtfully, Steve Asmussen. Has there been anybody who's gotten more out of Tapit Offspring than Steve Asmussen?
No.
Think of Tapizar, Untappable, Tapiture, and Creator. Those are 4 that come to mind.
Horses,
they most
Scott.
certainly are.
And he handles them well, especially like this filly, Thoughtfully.
And she's a winner of the Grade 2 Adirondack at Saratoga earlier this summer, so she's my second choice. And then I'll go to Crazy Beautiful, the daughter of Liam's Map from his second crop. Now, keep in mind that Kenny McPeak has won this race 4 times in the past, and anytime I see Indian Charlie surface on the top side or the bottom side, this filly comes from an Indian Charlie broodmare. I gravitate in that direction, so I think that you have to give a strong look at her. So 2-1-4 for me in the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades.
Yeah, as you said, Kenny McPeak has won this race 4 times, and he's got 3 contenders in the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades. I go to a different horse, Scott, as the top selection, and that's the number 6 Gramercy. Her race, her debut at Arlington was insane. I don't know how to describe it. Take a look at this race, right? She's the number 6. You can see her in the Godolphin blue colors. It looks like she's going to finish maybe 4th, maybe rally to finish 3rd. I don't know. But when I was watching this race for the first time, I looked down at the past performances and I said, there's no way that this filly actually won by 2 lengths. And she just comes with this wicked closing run. Now, I will admit that the pace setter does look like she appears to be falling apart a little bit. She's getting weary-legged, but this filly just comes with this crazy closing kick and not only beats the one, but beats her by 2 lengths. And that's something that you don't see very often. On top of that, it was a very fast Beyer speed figure. She got a 72 Beyer speed figure, another thing that you don't often see at Arlington. So I do think that this is a filly. Look, she's by Bernardini out of a Tisnow mare. She can certainly handle the distance. She gets Joel Rosario. It is a big question whether or not she's good enough and what she beat in that last race, but she does look like she's got some raw talent. So I went with her on top, although I do respect your top selection as well, Travel Column.
Who do you have underneath, by the way?
I used Travel Column underneath and then the 4 Crazy Beautiful. So 6, 2, 4, the top 3. Travel Column, I would have used her on top. She's funny, though. Scott, watching her race last time out, she's very quick-footed. And I think the important thing for her today is to be able to relax, now stretching out to the mile in a 16.
Let's find out more about Travel Column. Let's join our good friend and colleague, Tom Leach.
Trainer Brad Cox is going for 2 in a row in the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades, and you're going to saddle Travel Column like British Idiom last year, coming off just a 6-furlong win. How is she as good as that one? Do you feel as confident?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm hoping she is. I mean, she's got a lot of speed, natural speed, maybe more speed than British Idiom. You know, we're hoping she'll stretch out. She acts like it of the mornings. Pedigree suggests she can get 2 turns, so hopeful she can.
What do you see that tells you she'll like the 2 turns?
I think the pedigree, her works indicate, you know, she puts in good gallop outs in her work, so that indicates lots of times that they'll be able to handle the 2 turns. So, you know, I'm optimistic she'll be able to get it.
Let's talk about a 2-year-old on the Saturday card you'll have in the Grade 1 Claiborne Breeders' Futurity. That's Essential Quality, also coming off a sprint win at Churchill into a tough spot. How's he looking?
Really good. I really like this colt. He's kind of jumped from the get-go since we got him here in the spring. He's kind of let us, you know, acted like a good horse from day one, honestly. Another one that's obviously untested around 2 turns, and hopefully he'll be able to get the distance. I'm confident he will as well. Once again, based off pedigree and what he shows us of the mornings indicates, he should be able to handle it.
2 grade 1s for 2-year-olds coming up this weekend at Keeneland, and Brad Cox has a big shot in both.
Listen, we could be talking tomorrow afternoon, Brad, sweeping these grade 1 races and sitting in a very good spot going into the Breeders' Cup in both the juvenile and juvenile fillies, because I read a workout report that said both essential quality, the colt that we'll see tomorrow in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity and Travel Column, worked in company. And when you get 2 fast horses working in company, it oftentimes turns out to be a good thing, and they'll get a lot out of it because oftentimes they're just so much faster than their workmates, and they really don't get all that much out of it.
I think that says more about the filly than colt, Scott. If she's capable of really being just as good as the colt that's in tomorrow, that says a lot about Travel Column. But Brad did mention she's very quick. She does have the pedigree, but we'll see if she can settle enough to achieve the 2-turn distance today.
Let's roll back 1 race to race number 8. This is the Grade 2 Stoll Keenan Ogden Phoenix Stakes, a Breeders' Cup 1 in your in Challenge Series race for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Keep in mind that Run Happy did win this race back in 2015 at the age of 3, before a month later going on and winning the Breeders' Cup Sprint en route to a championship season. Top sprinter of 2015 with that Breeders' Cup Sprint win right here at Keeneland Racecourse. You can see a couple of scratches, the 1, the 8, and the 10 out. We'll see Edgemont Road later on this weekend. But it's Diamond Oops, who's 3-1 on the morning line. Were you at all surprised to see him installed as the morning line favorite in this race off of his Turf Stakes victory?
Not necessarily, because he is coming in off of a Turf Sprint victory last time out. But I mean, he's competed in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Sprint, the Shadwell Turf Mile. I mean, the Vanderbilt. He's a horse that's competed in Grade 1s, sprinting on the dirt before in the past. I don't know. I think with some of the scratches, Scott, it really changes the complexion of the race, especially with the fact that Edgemont Road is out. Could there be a scenario where No Parole is loose on the lead today?
It's possible. I mean, I would not be surprised, and I think he's a horse that bounces back. We did not see the true No Parole last time out, and I think he's going to be a serious player come Breeders' Cup time here at Keeneland Racecourse. But I'm going to go to a horse that you and I covered on this day, the first race of Kentucky Derby Day. We did it right here on TVG2, Midnight Sands, the son of Speightstown. And we talked a lot about him coming into this race off of 5 consecutive wins in Dubai. He was not allowed the opportunity, as nobody was, to compete on World Cup night, as that was canceled for 2020. So they had to regroup. They bring him back here, and we roll back that race, the first race at Churchill on September 5th, where he ends up finishing 3rd. I said to you immediately after this, I am betting this horse the next time that he runs regardless. And looking at the way Tyler Gaffalione is really just kind of hand-riding him, I think he needed this race off of the layoff. I think he'll get something out of this race. He's obviously a talented horse. He ends up finishing 2nd to Hog Creek Hustle. The horse comes over the top. Looks like he's going to come from over the top. That's Hog Creek Hustle and get the victory. But it's Bourbon Resolution who was able to get the victory. And that was, by the way, I think, the first of your 5 winners in a row at Churchill Downs on that day. But Midnight Sands, to me, will build off of that. And the fact that Brendan Walsh is jumping into the deep end of the pool, because this is not an easy race, I'm going to lean on Brendan Walsh. I think that Brendan Walsh is one of those trainers that you have to pay a lot of attention to this weekend. He's got a lot of live runners, and I'll look at Midnight Sands as a price play in here for me to take the Stoll Keenan Ogden Phoenix and punch his ticket to the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, it was a weird race. There's no doubt about it, because he was well off of the rail. It seemed like that was the theme in the early part of the race day, that particular card at Churchill Downs. So I'm curious to see him take a big step forward as well. I used him in the top 3, but with regard to my top selection, I did land on the 4 Diamond Oops because of his versatility. And I say this time and time again, it's very rare that you see a horse be able to go against some of the top horses in the country, sprinting on the dirt, going a distance of ground on the dirt, sprinting on the turf, going a distance of ground on the turf. So this horse has an incredible amount of versatility, and I think that last race at Churchill Downs will set him up nicely for today. But we'll go back to his race in the Grade 3 Mr. Prospector. This was late last year, December 21st, in which he closed him off of the pace. Now, I will say he was in a good spot this day. It was a very fast pace going 7 furlongs. He was cutting back in distance from the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. It just seemed like everything came together for him this day. But judging by his last race at Churchill, it looks like he is in very good form. And now taking that form to sprinting on the dirt, I think he should be fine. Now, again, with some of the scratches, the complexion of the race changed. I originally really liked him because I thought he was a closer and it would be a good setup. We might not see that today. He might still be able to overcome it, though, Scott.
I think there's got to be a lot of confidence in Patrick Biancone and in the fact that he had a turf sprint option if he wanted to take it this weekend here at Keeneland, and he went in your race for the Breeders' Cup turf sprint. So, it's hard to think that he's not going to run a big race here this afternoon in the Stoll Keenan Ogden Phoenix. That is Diamond Hoops, the morning line favorite. All right, we're going to have to pick up the pace here for our key race analysis of the day, and our key races. We'll start with race number 6. This is a race that you wanted to go to, a two-year-old race. There's a lot of two-year-old racing this weekend, and you've got horses coming in from a lot of different directions, and you can see the morning line and how wide open it is.
Yep, and only one scratch to a field of 9 here going a mile on the main track. And I landed on the number 1 Torsi's Charm. I'm actually kind of surprised that this filly is installed as the morning line favorite. But regardless, I do think that she's worth it. I do think that she's the horse to beat. We'll take a look at her most recent performance. This was at Ellis Park going 7 furlongs. So she does have to stretch out to the 2-turn mile today, which is obviously a question. But she is very quick. She just looks like she might... she's quick, she's got a natural speed, but I also think that she will have the ability to rate. She just looks like a filly that has a lot of talent. So I'm curious to see what Joe Talamo does with her on the rail, if he's aggressive with her on the stretch out and just decides to go, or kind of tries to teach her a little bit of a lesson, because these are the types of races that you do want to educate these 2-year-olds who are up and coming. But that's going to be the top pick, my key race in race 6.
Let's go to race number 10 for my key race. These are more 2-year-olds going a mile and a 16th on the grass in race number 10, final race of the day. Scratch the outside full horses. You're going to have to go to the 3-horse to start the conversation here, 7-2 with Royal Prince. Here's a horse that's run twice, but his record shows that he only ran once. We can only show you his debut because race number 2 of his career really doesn't exist, so let's go ahead and roll it back. This is August 8th at Ellis Park. You and I were there that afternoon. He runs a solid second, makes up a lot of ground, and beaten 4 lengths in the end. But then he would come out of that race a month later, run at Kentucky Downs in those big maiden allowance races, and that was the afternoon where they had the issue with the starting gate where it malfunctioned. So that race was declared a no contest, a non-wagering event on September 7th, which you'll see as on the run line. So he won, but he didn't win. So he's got an opportunity to win again here today, but not really win again because he didn't win last time out. If you can follow me on that, Gabby Gaudet, I think all he has to do is perform the way that he did in his last 2 races, and he's going to be awful tough in here with Sean Bridgmahan, one of Brad Cox's go-to riders. So look out for Royal Prince, and keep in mind that he's crossed the wire in front, but not for statistical purposes.
He knows how to win.
He does know how to win. Exactly. He doesn't know that he didn't win that race on paper. He can't read, at least I don't think he can. Let's take a look at the Clocker report for this afternoon and start with race number 4, Urban Fairy Tale, on the 23rd of September. Worked 5 furlongs in 1:04. That was number 1 of 7 on the afternoon. Strong local breeze and a go-to rider aboard today. And then in race number 5, 1 race later, Joy of Painting on the 25th of August, a half mile and 47-2 out of the gate. Outworked Barnmate Farsighted, who runs in race 2, demands a price. So keep an eye on not only Joy of Painting later, but that stablemate earlier in the card here today. We've got big wagering opportunities, as you would expect here this afternoon. An early pick 5, as well as the $200,000 late pick 4. That is presented by TVG. And Gabby, you have the honors as far as the pick 4 ticket is concerned.
It's tough today. I had to come up with a single somewhere, and in fact, my single's on the horse that you just mentioned won last time out but didn't win, and hopefully will win again today. $22.50 is the play for me. I'm using 3 horses in the first leg as an allowance race for older horses, older fillies and mares. 2, 5, 7. The top pick in there is the 5, I Hear You, but I really like the 7 first course as a big price. The 8th race, the grade 2 Stoll Keenan Ogden Phoenix. I'm spreading in here. I think the race could go in so many different directions. So using 5 horses in there. And the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades, 3 with the 2, 4, and the 6. I mentioned all 3 of them earlier. Travel Column, Crazy Beautiful, and Gramercy, which is my top selection. And then we finally get to the last leg, and that's the 3 Royal Prince for Brad Cox. Coming out of that Kentucky Downs race, I do think he is the most likeliest winner. So I wanted to keep it on a conservative budget, and that's what we have.
I do not single. I've established that many times over, and the shortest I'll go as far as coverage is in leg number 1 of this late pick 4 presented by TVG and guaranteed at $200,000. I'll go 5 and 8, starting with the number 5 horse, my top play in there. I hear you for Stidham. All he's done is get better. She has rather. You'll see Stidham with a lot of horses debut in the Mid-Atlantic, Delaware, Laurel, Pimlico, and then come on and run bigger races. He's established his dominance with his runners out of the Fairhill operation, and then the 8-horse Luck Money on the outside draw, cuts back in distance, so I think that's going to be a key for him as he goes a mile and an eighth, or her rather, as these are fillies. So look for her on the outside, and Joel Rosario's not going to hurt the case either. In the stole, Keenan Ogden Phoenix, I will go 4 deep. I do like the 12, but it is a price play. The number 4 horse, Diamond Oops, you have to use him, no parole. He bounces back today, and then Echo Town will do better on the cutback in distance. I hate playing against Whitmore. I just wonder if time has caught up with him. Today will be a telling point for him and the connections led by Ron Marquette. In the Darley Alcibiades, 3 deep, thoughtfully, the Tappet filly for Asmussen that we talked about, Crazy Beautiful, my 3rd choice, and then Travel Column, my top play. And then in race number 10, even though I've got Royal Prince in there, I do think that the 2 is dangerous. Tom Drury Jr., we've obviously been turned on to him, and a lot of folks have, with his success with Art Collector, and we wish him the best tomorrow in the Grade 1 Preakness Stakes for Mr. Bruce Lunsford as he looks to tackle Authentic in what is the 3rd jewel of the Triple Crown, the Preakness Stakes this year. And then the number 7 horse, Hoist the Mainsail for Kenny McPeak. Here's a colt by Mizzen Mass, ran well on debut, okay at Kentucky Downs, was part of that pace, and then weekend, that was the Royal Prince race. We'll see a lot of horses come out of Kentucky Downs and run better races because of the tricky course setup downstate just north of Nashville, Tennessee. So those are our key races and pick 4s. Now time for our best angles of the day, and I'll start things off with race number 3. And with race number 3, there is no superfecta wagering because Figure It Out has been scratched. So I'm going to go simple here, just try to get the ball rolling with these exotics and these key race angles and these best bets of the day. And I'm going to go 1-2. That's Risky Mandates and for Tom Amos, and Club Car on top, and then 1-2-6 underneath in an exacta. I do think the 1 can win this race. I just think that she's downgraded a bit with the post draw, and I think that Club Car can take advantage of that as we roll back Club Car here in this situation. We're going to go back to Club Car's 2nd place finish back on the 9th of July. That was during the summer meeting where she put together that strong performance behind Dos Vinos, who has a big opportunity this weekend against stakes fillies in the TCA stakes. So watch out for her. She's since come on and finished 5th behind Lady Cato. I think has got a big opportunity tomorrow in the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster. And then she bounced back with a solid effort at Churchill. But if getting back to Keeneland is the trick, which it just might be, watch out for Club Car today in race number 3 because she's held some very, very tough company in her races. And I think that she's bound to break out at one of these points. So 1-2 over 1-2-6 in an exacta in race number 3.
It's funny, Scott. I'm going to stick to the same race with my best angle. And I actually really like Risky Mandate. And you just look at her most recent performances this year alone in 2020. And you can make excuses for most of them. Now, this is the race at Churchill Downs, her first race off of the layoff. She was coming in off of August of 2019 to June 2020. So she was a little rusty. She didn't get out of the gate very well. After that, she faced Indian Pride, who's a very, very talented horse for trainer Chad Brown. After that, I thought that the 9 furlongs at Saratoga was probably a touch too far, and then the La Troyenne was probably too tough. So now she's against realistic competition. She cuts back in distance to 7-8. She's got enough natural speed to get herself into the race too. So I like her so much that I'm going to key her in a daily double, and I'm going to be using the 1-2-6-7 in the subsequent race, which is race 4. But yeah, she's going to be the top pick, and that's kind of the play there in race 3.
Let's go to Tom Leach's pick of the day. He likes to swing for big prices, which who doesn't? Parimutuel wagering, and you get fantastic odds when playing these races, and oftentimes you can find horses that run much better than what their odds suggest leading into the race, and obviously come post time. And Tom Leach, he's going to go to race number 7, that 1 1/8 race for fillies and mares. It's an A other than race. He goes to Choate Bridge, 8-1. That is the number 1 horse for Brendan Walsh. Said that Brendan's going to have a big weekend. I feel strongly about that. And here's a filly that was last seen at Kentucky Downs. Speed and Fade in the first start off of a long layoff. That was June to September, 19-20, so it was over a year. Should improve significantly back at a winning distance from last spring. And that win did come at a 1 1/8, as Tom suggests and mentions, at Churchill Downs. So we'll see if she can bounce back here today. She is 8-1 on the morning line, part of that nice late pick 4 that we have presented by TVG and guaranteed at $200,000. I'm going to place full blame on me. We were behind. Now we're a minute and a half ahead here in the show. This is a timed out, well-oiled machine. But I've sped us up so much, Gabby Gaudette, you've got to fill for 60 seconds.
So what should we talk about? We talked about the weather. We talked about our best bets. Darley, Alcibiades.
Huge weekend.
Huge weekend.
Yeah, 9 win-in-your-ins this weekend. And we've got a Kentucky Oaks winner who will be competing on Sunday in the Grade 1 Juddmonte Spinster, which adds some intrigue to it as well. So, I mean, there is a lot to look forward to. And those win-in-your-ins lead to the Breeders' Cup right here at Keeneland Racecourse. And I'm sure that a lot of folks have heard the Keeneland's going to get the Breeders' Cup back in 2022. So we're going to be here quite often over the next couple of years in reference to the Breeders' Cup.
Oh, for sure. And these win-in-your-ins are very important, Scott, because there's a lot that's at stake in winning them. You know, you get your entry fee paid for, you get an additional bonus, an award of $10,000. You get a travel allowance, too, if you're outside of the state of Kentucky. So it's very, very important, and I'm excited to get to it. We've got some fabulous racing here at Keeneland and throughout the country this weekend.
Yeah, just over an hour away from first post of this 10-race card at 1:05 Eastern Time. There is a 50-cent pick 5, which gets underway with the opener. And don't forget, check out Keeneland at Home through our various social media outlets, especially on Facebook. That is going to be hosted, as it was back during the summer meet, by our good friend and our colleague, Christina Blacker. For Gabby, I'm Scott, the entire team here on Today at Keeneland. Enjoy yourself some opening day.
Now it's a global series. The best racers from all over the world, the best trainers, the best jockeys.
You can get a free entry into the Breeders' Cup, and everybody wants to run in a Breeders' Cup race.
You get your travel expenses paid for the Breeders' Cup.
Automatic berth takes a lot of pressure off.
If we're considering 2 different races and one was a win and you're in and one was not, that would be the tiebreaker.
It's probably the best thing that's happened to racing in the last 10 years.
Breeders' Cup Challenge, win, and you're in.
Their track records.
Oh my goodness, look at Frosted today! West is still unbeaten!
Our track record.
Bernardini is pouring it on and he's pulling away! The wire! Italia Doro wins! Here comes the stern and the colt is letting rip with the...
It's what makes Darley, well, Darley. We've been putting the blue into the bluegrass for 20 years, and we're as proud as ever to support the G1 Darley Alcibiades. Darley.